Hi everyone, Emily from Forbes here, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Seat of Power. Today I'm here with Scott Harrison, founder and CEO of Charity Water. Thanks so much for being with me.
It's good to be here.
So the headquarters is very cool, by the way. Your office is beautiful. And
We're lucky.
Yeah, I've been following Charity Water for a little bit now, but I want to talk with you not just about how the organization came to be, but a little bit about your role. You started off your career as something very different, promoting clubs, and how did you end up where you are now?
Yeah, well, I was a nightclub promoter for 10 years. I moved to the city from Philadelphia, New Jersey at 18 years old, and I just wanted to party. So I couldn't believe there was this job in New York City where you could get paid to drink alcohol for free, and your friends would drink for free, and I did that for 10 years, which sounds like a really long time. It felt like 50 years, I think, and just got really boring. And after a decade of partying, I found myself kind of this soulless, hedonistic sycophant who cared about, no one but myself. And I was fortunate enough to have a couple weeks out of the city in South America where I just got to kind of take stock of my life. And I realized that I was leaving a meaningless legacy, by just getting drunk every night and partying and getting other people drunk. And I asked myself what the opposite of my life might look like, and decided to take 1 year and volunteer to try and serve the poor. I had never volunteered before. I hadn't made a charitable gift, and that led me to a country called Liberia that I'd never even heard of at the time, on a humanitarian medical mission as a photojournalist. So I began to take pictures of the incredible work that these doctors were doing, tell stories, and long story short, over what turned out to be a 2-year volunteer tour, I came across dirty water. And just couldn't believe that human beings in the world today were drinking bad water when a guy like me was selling bottled water in nightclubs for $10 to people who wouldn't even open the water.
Right.
And at the time, there were 1 billion people worldwide. They were drinking dirty water, and I just wanted to do something about it. So I came back at 30 and said, maybe I can turn some of these nightclub promoting skills into something that actually matters, into something that actually helps people.
And so you said a billion people.
Yeah, now it's 660 million people. So over the last 11 years, a lot of progress has been made. Charity Water has actually been able to help over 24,000 villages now, 7.3 million people. So of the 660 million people that currently lack access to clean water, we've been able to help 1% of them. But there's so much more to do.
Right.
I traveled around the world, and I saw women walking 5 hours a day, losing their children to diarrhea. I saw schools without water. I saw health clinics without water. Imagine going to get well at a clinic, and they give you medicine with brown river water. So I just thought that everybody should have access to clean water, regardless of where they're born, and then tried to start a charity that would just have a very different experience. So many people that I talked to were cynical when it came to charities. They were cynical when it came to giving, and they'd say, "Where does my money go? I don't think my money's actually going to reach the people that need it." And 11 years ago, I had these kind of crazy ideas. What if we could use 100% of every donation we ever take from the public and only build water projects? And what if we could use technology, photos, GPS, sensors to prove that the money was reaching people and having an impact? And what if we could build a beautiful brand that didn't feel like a downer? So many charities use shame and guilt to get people to feel horrible about what they have and then say, now give. What if we could build a Nike or an Apple or a Virgin, a creative, imaginative, inspiring brand?
So I want to touch more about your relationships with your donors, because I think that that's a really important point to touch on, is that people don't want these days just to give money and it to kind of evaporate into the world. They want to be connected to what they're doing. So how many of your donors then are repeat donors because they're feeling more connected to the project?
Yeah, so about 11 years, if we compress that, over 1 million people, so unique individuals from about 100 countries around the world, have given $265 million. So over $250 million has been given from 1 million generous donors. About a year ago, we realized that our repeat rates, when people give to a charity, only about 15% of people that are making small donations are coming back to the same charities year after year. And we were sending people photos, GPS, this is exactly where your money went, and we weren't seeing really much better than the average, than our the other charities that we're in community with. So what we did was we launched a subscription program. We said, why don't we actually create a product that's by very nature is about continuity, is about building a relationship with people. So rather than coming across an interview online or a video or a speech and saying, hey, I'm inspired, here's $100, and then ignoring all the emails and the stories that the organization might send out, what if we could actually say, we want you for the long haul? We want to sign you up at whatever amount you can afford to give every month. Some people it's only $10, others it's $100 a month, other people it's $30. But you're going to stick with us as we continue to make an impact, and we're going to keep reporting back to you the impact that these monthly donations make. So a year ago we launched the Spring, so think of it as Spotify or Netflix for good, where we realize the average person today has over 10 subscriptions that we get benefit from, right? We're watching the content, we're reading the newspapers, we're storing our assets in the cloud. So could we create this kind of pure subscription program where 100% of the value is passed on to the poorest people in the world that need clean water, and then build a meaningful relationship with our subscribers? And it's going great. We just broke through 10,000 members in kind of the pilot. So now 81 different countries are represented in the Spring. The average is about $33 a month. So it's still a small but very, very quickly growing part. It's the fastest part of really all the different revenue streams for charity water, and we're seeing people stick around. So that's what's exciting. They're not joining and canceling 3 or 6 months later. They're sticking around for it's new, but at least a year.
You've partnered with some bigger names. I've noticed. I've seen it on social media, and I did see recently that Kendall Jenner donated her birthday to you guys. How did that come to be?
I was actually on the playground with my kids, and I got a call from her, and she said, I'm passionate about water, and I'd love to make a substantial donation to help people get clean water. Asked us a little bit about the charity, the business model. Wound up sponsoring like over 25 communities instantly, which was not trivial. A really substantial, generous gift. And then when a birthday came around, this is something we've done for years, is we've said, look, people have birthdays every year. We get all this crap that we don't need, stuff we don't even want sometimes. So what if we could kind of say no to the commercialization of the birthdays and turn these into redemptive giving moments? So over, I think 30,000 people have now donated their birthday, raised about $30 million. And she said, well, I'll give up my birthday and I'll just email my friends and my fans. And I think she's raised $64,000 the last time I checked through her birthday. So
that's fantastic.
Besides the gift of 25 communities, now 6 more communities will get clean water. So it's cool.
A lot of that is the power of social media. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about between 11 years ago when you started and now, how much has using social media changed?
I think we just built a digital first, or really a digital only organization. So many charities will direct mail. They'll buy your physical mailing address and then send you a bunch of paper and ask you to put a check in a self-addressed stamped envelope. Now, I don't know when the last time you've written a check to charity is. It may be never. Right? For a lot of my friends, it's never. They have actually never done that. They've given, they've used Apple Pay to give to charities. So we were fortunate in that the timing, Charity Water and Twitter started the same year. So I invited myself to speak at Twitter corporate headquarters. There were 28 employees at the time. So we were the first charity to get 1 million Twitter followers because we understood it and we built relationships. We were the first charity to use Instagram. So we just built this culture of innovation, of early adoption. We just believed the movements of the world that would last, that would make a true impact, would be built online. So, when we launch a birthday idea, that's the great thing. And Jack Dorsey has done 3 different birthdays now. I think he did 33, 34, and 35. Raised almost $200,000 exclusively on Twitter. Just saying, I'm turning 33, I'd love $33 if you could afford it. So that's been exciting just to be, to start a charity in this new age of social media. We shot a film in virtual reality 2.5 years ago. So we shot this 8-minute film where a 13-year-old girl gets clean water for the first time in her life. And people put the headset on. 8 minutes later, they're weeping. We had one guy walk in, watch the VR film, write a $400,000 check for 40 communities. So moved by the story of a 13-year-old girl, so moved by the story of one community. So I think that's really one of the competitive advantages, or things that just makes us different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So has outreach and understanding of your mission been the most challenging part?
Getting people to care about the suffering of people thousands of miles away. You know, I remember speaking at a conference once with the Livestrong CEO, a great guy named Doug Ullman, and we were both speaking. It was a few thousand people. We were back to back, and he gets out and looks at the audience and says, "How many people here have had cancer?" A bunch of hands go up. "How many people have had a family member?" Now we're more than half the audience. "How about a friend or a loved one?" 100% of the audience. And then he begins his speech.
Yeah.
So I get out there and say, "All right, how many people have walked 8 hours for dirty water?" Like, nobody. You know, how about a relative that has died of diarrhea or bilharzia or gone blind with trachoma or has parasites in their body because of the bad water? You know, nobody. So I think that is actually one of the biggest challenges. The business model, the transparency has helped us. You know, so many people actually would say the reason they're giving to Charity Water wasn't first the issue, wasn't that they deeply cared about the global water crisis, but it's actually that this felt different. You know, it felt like a new way to experience giving. You know, we love our donors. Like, we really love our donors. So many charities look at donors as a means to an end. They never had to talk to a donor and money just grew on trees, well, then they would just get on with their good work. We love donors. We love getting kids involved. We love getting families involved. We believe that giving is a redemptive act. I mean, it moves people away from selfishness into, you know, the freedom that comes with caring for others. So you know, I've said often, if a foundation said, "Here's $100 million to go drill wells," and you can have it right now and just go do that for the next 3 years, or if it was going to take us 3 years to raise that same $100 million, but we got to touch 10 million individuals, we would wait 3 years. Absolutely. We think there's a greater value in involving everyday people in an issue like this.
And you mentioned the idea of a giving act. So obviously with this time of year, we're coming up, you know, Thanksgiving, holidays, and how does that kind of change your tact?
Well, there's, you know, we're about to head into the commercialism of the season, right? Which just seems to start earlier and earlier this year.
It does.
Christmas lights go up, and oh my gosh. Well, there's this thing called Giving Tuesday, which has been really big recently, and you know, I think it started when someone said, "Okay, there's Black Friday, and that's extended into the weekend, and then there's Cyber Monday, right? If your 3 days of shopping wasn't enough, now let's find a way to take your money online." So years ago, a bunch of people got together and said, "All right, charities need to own a day. So after all of that is done, after you feel kind of disgusting from just having overconsumed, you know, let's make Tuesday a day of giving, a day of unselfish giving." I don't like to say giving back, because giving back makes it sound like you've taken so much. And you're giving out of, you know, guilt or debt or obligation. I think giving should be a joyful act, and it should be a blessing to give, because we're able to use our influence or our money to improve other people's lives. So, you know, that's a big day for us, and we're launching some cool initiatives on Giving Tuesday. The spring is actually, these 10,000 members are going to get a brand new tool where they can actually spread the Charity Water story to their friends, invite them into the spring, and we can track all that impact. So if you're a member giving $30 a month and you're helping one person get clean water, and you invite 5 of your friends, we can now track that impact back to you. So the network effect is so much greater than the impact. So we're excited to launch that and see how it goes. So, and not just Giving Tuesday, but really December in general seems to be kind of a popular time for giving. Do you think that that's problematic? Because it seems to be that people are feeling like end of year, I should do something, or do you capitalize on that in a positive way? I mean, I think it's just the reality. I mean, do we wish that January and February were better months when people were thinking about giving? Sure. But that's what happened. It just literally hockey sticks. I think I was telling you that last December 31st, people coming to charitywater.org and donating versus January 1, right? So the difference of just a day, it was over 100x drop off. 100x. It's crazy. So I think that's just the reality, right? Yep. It's the end of the tax year. A lot of people don't really know, how they ended the year until they get through the holidays, and that's why subscription, that's why the spring is so valuable to an organization like us, because we can plan. If you're giving $30 this month, it goes into January and February and March and April, and you're just budgeting it. It's it's a couple music subscription services, or it's a, we've had people recently telling us that they're canceling something to actually join the spring. So they're actually not finding new money. They're saying, you know what, I'm subscribing to this thing that I could do without, and if I could use that money to help people get clean water, that was a better idea.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, and really wonderful to hear your story and how it's changed over the years and all the impact you've created.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.